Women Innovators. Interviews with women with big messages and big missions, sharing their stories to inspire you to live your passion and step up to make the world a better place. Here's your host, Tami Patzer.
Hi, this is Tami Patzer, and I'm really excited to introduce you to today's guest, Jennifer Clark. Jennifer quickly became fascinated with the world of energy around her and how it created the results of her experience. Having worked in the business community for 15 years, she could sense a flow or energy around successful people, and she knew that there was something more to creating opportunity and good luck. As an avid student of the Millionaire Mind, she has actively studied successful people and their habits. As an energy worker, her latent intuitive skills opened up to reveal to her the invisible worlds of spirit. This esoteric information was somewhat new to her, but having a beginner's mindset, she knew she did not know what she did not know, and sought out the best in the world in the fields of energy, spirituality, coaching, empowerment, human potential, leadership, business, healing, conscious parenting, and conscious communication to better understand life, the universe, and everything. Jennifer Clark's work represents the perfect union of mind, body, spirit, emotions, and finances, marrying the esoteric and the concrete into harmonious union. As above, so below. Welcome, Jennifer.
Oh, hi, Tami. Thank you so much for that very energizing introduction. I'm so excited to be here with you and all your great people listening today and talking about energy and spirit and passion and purpose and all good things right now. We are, of course, the month of miracles and magic for many traditions. And even if you don't have one, it seems to be a glow in the air and a spark in the steps of people. So happy to help people light up, if you will.
Well, I think that's the perfect way to say it, to help people light up. So tell me more about what you do and who you help.
Sure. So I have an interesting sort of backstory. I was a young woman, youngish, 26 or so, sort of wondering, is this it? Is this all there is? And having a fairly good job at that age and feeling kind of disconnected from the pattern of just achieving success or accumulating things. I had friends going to, Caribbean and drinking and dancing. And I was just like, yeah, that's fun for a while, but then I'm getting bored. And so I would always gravitate towards our local, the Barnes and Noble chapters, bookstores, self-help sections. I started, reading about spirituality, the science of success, the old authors, Dale Carnegie, Wallace Wattles, Og Mandeville, Vincent Peale. These old theorists and people. Florence Shinn is one of the best books out there, actually. And then I started, looking at energy and seeing, whether it's people talking to each other, romances, anger, I could sense it. I could start to see that there's cloud, there was energy, there was color for me. So I trained as a Reiki master and really started to develop it. Then I met Doreen Virtue out of Los Angeles. She's currently living in Hawaii. She had a program called Angel Therapy, and I took her course and really opened up to, let's say, the invisible support teams we all have: guides, angels, deceased loved ones, soul, creator, God, fairies, angels, all kinds of devas, elementals, these wonderful, the universe is just packed full of help. And that's the cool part for me. So I really wanted to investigate. I was a risk manager in corporate Canada, spent 15 years as a junior manager. So I used my skills, at work, just helping people problem solve, emotional intelligence, whether it was sort of relationship building for customer service, or I had an account manager type of job, so I had to deal with brokers and inside and outside customers. So people, relationships, emotions, and that's every day. Every day we have emotions. Every day we can have conflict or success depending on how we flow and go. So I really wanted to study that, and I did. And then I had a snowboarding accident, and took me out of the game. I was so out. I was in pain. I had a very, very bad break. I couldn't physically take care of myself, had to move home with my mom and my sister to take care of me. And that's when I really, could connect to the God of my heart, creator, whatever word resonates with you. I really was sort of butt up in a sling and just talking to myself because there was no one else at home at the time, and really had a Zen moment in 6 months of pain, but also sheer pleasure, connecting to a spiritual energy within me and all around me. When I returned to work, I got laid off. And July 4th, American Independence Day. This is like the coolest part of the story. I had an American calendar pinned to my cubicle office, and I get this pink slip and this big fat check, and I'm kind of in shock, not knowing what's going on. And I look up at this calendar, and of course, on the American calendar, Independence Day in bold letters. And I said, okay, yes, there is a plan for me. And I floated out of there. 7 years of my life, Tami, ended in 7 minutes. The box, all the stuff put in the box, the 100-person organization was emptied because I was a very popular person. So they wanted to sort of diffuse any conflict. There was no one in the room. I left as quickly as I came. And 3 days later, opened up shop as an intuitive risk manager, a problem solver, energy mechanic, where I've been doing my work for the last, I would say now, since 2001. So, quite a long time. From there, I had a TV show, radio show here in my community in Ottawa, Canada, where I help people. Again, think of Dear Abby meets business coach meets informal therapist and energy healer. And that's kind of all in one. I know it's hard for some people to understand, but everything is energy. So cancer is energy. A divorce is energy. Infertility is energy. Bankruptcy is energy. And if you know how to flip the switch, if you know how to shift inside out, you can actually create some really positive changes quickly in your outside life.
Wow. I'm just listening, and as I'm listening to you, I'm saying, wow, I could ask her all kinds of different things. Let's go deeper into flipping the switch and the energetic. And maybe if you can use some examples so that people can understand how you have mixed your energy healing, your intuition to help business people, because so often business people, if you talk to them about energy and about how you can help them, they might look at you like, oh, that's the woo. But
right.
We know that it really is, the woo isn't as woo as we think, because it is all about energy and what we attract. And today, now, we need to understand how our energy affects the whole world around us. I remember one time someone telling me that I had big energy, and I didn't even know what that meant. But I do know that when you have big positive energy, you attract big positive things. So can you talk about what you do in the context of business? Because we are going into a time when people are starting to think about their lives, how their lives are changing, what goals they should set, how to make things happen. Everybody wants it now. So I know that's a big question.
Well, yeah, yes and no, in the sense that the now is the only time we have. So I would also challenge a bit, because I have been in the business community for 15 years now, middle level. So I'm not saying I run a multi-million-dollar, space yet. I'm open to that. But right now, it's changing, because you're seeing more bullying in the workplace. You're seeing, in Canada at least, more laws against employers. You're seeing bullying happening in schools, and then the government having to counteract that. You're seeing people change how they eat. Michelle Obama and her garden. You're seeing mindfulness in the workplace. Huffington Post is all over mindfulness. There's not one day it doesn't have some kind of post about the science of mindfulness. Google and all the successful corporations already including that in the British Parliament, every minister of Parliament has had mindfulness training. So it's actually happening. I just think that perhaps the middle tier is missing it. I definitely know that the executives know about this in some form, whether it's positive thinking, emotional intelligence, mindfulness, meditation, stress reduction. There's different words to describe it. It's all the same stuff at the end of the day. So when someone comes to me, I read their, whether it's on the phone, whether it's via Skype or in person. 30% of my client base are around the world. I've never met them. I don't need to. I can read their energy through their words, their emotions, their language, and their vibration, which is, it has no location. It has no, root in the sense that I can track it. I get a name and a person and a location, and then I can go off into the World Wide Web of energy and read them. I sense their energy, their chakras. I sense what is balanced. I sense where there's an emotional stagnation in their body that may be causing a block, whether it's in their mental body, their physical health, their emotions, which all translates, as we know, to finances and success. So your capability, your ability, and your effectiveness is all tied into emotions and thoughts, mind and emotions. And that's why there's the big push of this mind, body, spirit, all these sort of new language and people are talking about vibes more often, emotional intelligence, level of consciousness, that kind of thing. So when I see them and I talk to them, I get because it's my expertise, I get a quick picture of where they're off. The sound, their tune is out of tune, where there's stagnation. And through gentle and easy guided healing imagery, so guided meditation, breathing, just visualizations, really, that's the simplest way of describing it. I'm able to access the 90% of them, Tami, that is their unconscious. So 90% of you is unconscious, only 10% is conscious. So while the mainstream or medical world deals with the 10%, the alternative world, energy medicine, vibrational therapy works on the 90% of you that is unconscious. So we tap into your archetypes, we tap into your fears, we tap into traumas that have happened to you in your life. Childhood, parentage, how you were raised, what experiences you had as a child through schools, and all these kinds of things create what we call imprints, or how I describe it, Tami, is the kink in the hose. So the kink in the hose could be at birth, could be at early childhood. Frankly, it's usually 0 to 10. Ages 0 to 10 are where the most significant imprints are for people that I find. And even if you're an adult, I had a 50-year-old man come in. He made about $300,000 a year as a high-tech sales rep, but kept losing his job. So he could make the money, but he couldn't keep the job. And he would have it for 6 months and have this high rolling success, and then all of a sudden create conflict or crash. And then, he says, well, why can't I ever, have a consistency in my life? He had the money, he had the wealth, but it was just up and down too much. So when I started to flesh out some things with him, and again, this is just gentle conversation with the client, it turned out that his father was not a priest formally, but kind of like a deacon in South Africa, where he grew up. And the concept of money was sort of taboo for this particular branch of Dutch, philosophy. So they grew up with great wealth, but not money. Like they had stuff, maybe because it was South Africa at the time in the 50s where they could afford things cheaper. They had physical, food. They had physical, beautiful home. They had servants. They had all kinds of signs of wealth. But in terms of physical hard cash money, they were dirt poor. How they figured everything out, I don't know if there was a barter system or there was some kind of other payment, system, but the church helped pay for all these things. So when this young man, on his own grew up and wanted to start having physical money, he did not realize there was an unconscious aversion to it. And so while he achieved it and aspired to it and knew he could, in his industry, could really, have lots of zeros at the end of his name, he could never hold on to it until he realized he had to disconnect and heal. his family's connection to money. And that was more of a religious, cultural perception. We've heard of these vows of poverty. We've heard in some religions, money is the root of all evil. And didn't realize, for this man, he didn't realize that he could see money as a servant of God or of good and help the world, like the Oprah Winfreys or, the philanthropists who use their money for the greater good. So once we were able to go in, talk to that younger version of himself through guided meditation, imagery, do some breathing exercises. There is a bit of a science to it, which is hard to explain. Just know that it's a gentle conversation. That is how he was able to change his mind, his unconscious mind, turn towards money as a protector, a provider, as a community builder, as an asset that he could use to help himself, those he loves, and the world around him. Now I'm proud to say he's had the current job for 2 years. He's moved up the ladder. He has a savings account, which he never did before. He still gets to play in the world he loves, which is cars and travel and, fun things. But he now is more responsible, growing it, holding on to it. Always has a $100 bill in his wallet at any one time as a representation of money being his friend. And he's very, very successful in his life. And in fact, that actually translated back into his romantic life. There was no coincidence to me, Tami, that the same man who was having problem keeping money could never keep a woman. And he dated for a while, always ended up having a problem with them, whether he found the problem with her or she found a problem with him. There was always this inconsistency in relationships. He's actually living with a woman. Again, the 2-year mark is a symbolic holding period of where he could have roots. He could hold like a bank account of money. He could hold a home full of love. He had a container. He didn't always give it away, burn it away, or blow it away. So that's just one really easy example of someone in business who was really highly successful, but just had a real hole in the pocket of his life.
I think that's a really good example because obviously we want our success to be everlasting and continue and not have the off and on and the sporadic things. That seems to be one of the biggest issues for most entrepreneurs, and why often when an entrepreneur will fail and go back to a job because they don't have that consistency. Yet the jobs, like you said, you were at your job and 7 minutes and it was gone.
Yeah. I mean, there's nothing in the universe that's not changing. So for anyone to say today, I mean, I'm 47 years old. Gone are the days where you have 30-year in a company, right? Like it's very rare. A lot of people want to learn something and move on. 2 to 5 years is sort of the job market. And, and that's a good thing because you're growing, you're evolving, you're changing up your skill sets, you're developing your career. I know people want that. They want reliability. They want, retirement and pension and all that good stuff. Ottawa, Canada is a government town. So people want to retire from the government. That's how they've been learned and trained. But there is no, the government's changed in politics like your government just did. There's a change of economics, which changes the corporate goals. The factory, goes to China. Someone dies, someone got sick. So I want to say that you have to have adaptability. So part of my wisdom training in the ancient traditions is about being flexible with the flow. Sometimes there's a drought and sometimes there's a storm. And, do you have an umbrella and do you have a water cooler? You kind of have to adapt. So it's being flexible with your business strategies and hopefully you have multiple revenue streams that can survive different kind of events in life. And if you don't, you should, right? Like Entrepreneur 101, 7 revenue streams is the optimum number. Hard to have. I know. I think I only have 3 myself. So I'm not saying I'm there yet myself, but it's in this, it's something that I'm aware of. Personally, though, it's their personal responsibility, personal leadership, personal resourcefulness, my internal resourcefulness has to be online so that I'm clear with my thinking and my feeling. So that's the thing that I can help with. Then with the strategies, making sure that this person has different fires in the iron. So there's not just one way to Rome. There's not just one, ticket out of the hole. And thinking about faith, positive thinking, and having an open mind to sort of solutions that come through people, events, and experiences, which is what people have traditionally called faith. So I think there's actually a formula to being a good entrepreneur or even an intrapreneur. Again, I work with a lot of people who do have jobs, but do have goals and projects and passions that they want to perhaps write a book or, write a movie, help the world, run kind of part-time business. And you can do it. Again, there's dedication. There's a lot of midnight hours, as you well know, Tami. Hours aren't always 9 to 5. And it's the commitment level. If you want to be someone like an Oprah Winfrey or super successful Donald Trump or whoever else, Bill Gates, they're working a lot. They're not just sitting eating bonbons. So while they might have the high life, they also have a high level of commitment towards their goals. They're working towards something, and they've created a system or a brand that is running itself. So they've had some sort of preliminary hard work. I always make Oprah as my example, just because everyone wants to be her in some successful way, but they don't want to walk her ugly years. They don't want to walk ages 10, to 30, where it was horrible and she had to hustle and, had racism and sexual abuse and poverty and all these kinds of things. So it's easy to say you want something, but are you going to work for it? So that's the entrepreneurial mind first has to realize there's some kind of effort involved. Then there's also personal effort. You have to make sure that you're aligned, you're balanced, that you are congruent with the project or the activity you want to pursue. So too many people come to me and say, I want to make money. What can make me money? And I'm like, well, that's the old way of thinking. The new way of thinking is what would you love to do? What can you do for long hours, and do it happily to make your money that either can leverage you to really dive into your passion or has some component of joy in it that keeps you going and energized to keep you committed on that path of success so that you can see that crop grow. And then you can plant other crops that are perhaps more fulfilling or fun. Does that make sense?
Makes perfect sense because I've been thinking about my journey, and believe me, it isn't something that one day I started doing. I've actually been in the journalism field, media field, since about the third grade. And I wrote the Girl Scout News, and then every path has led to here, even though it was not straight. So I really get it. And yes, it's called work.
So what I want you to consider then, and I know you're doing it with your book project and other things, but I want you to be the TV station now, Tami. You know the internet. There's bandwidth. There's just you need some space on a website or YouTube. Get the channel, but be ABC, NBC News online, just like Oprah did own. You have your own channel. Have your own channel and have all these cool authors like or practitioners like myself be the shows.
Yeah.
Have your own station and just have everyone upload their own film, segments. So that you can be the producer, the executive of this global hub, and just have your own online portal because the kids aren't even watching television. Televisions are actually going to be the dinosaurs at some point because kids are on iPads, phones, all this kind of technology. So television, and in fact, that's why Oprah Winfrey did leave television because it was too costly for all the cameras, the studio space, all that kind of stuff. Everyone has a laptop with a camera or can get one easily at the local tech store. You could have all these news reporters, all these shows on the World Wide Web, Tami, under your umbrella. So this is just one way of repurposing your skill set and doing it on, inexpensively, but still presenting really quality, good television or episodic education.
See, that is the absolute perfect idea. And that's an example of how Jennifer Clark can read through the airwaves because she's in Ottawa. I am in Florida. and she just connected with me at that soul level. So I think you just showed everyone a perfect example of how you can connect to someone and help them to see who they are without even being in the same room with them, and knowing basically what you know about me from our conversation here today. So, wow, I know that we can go and talk about so many different things, because you are also, beyond the business aspect, you also do a lot with angels and also a lot with the children of today. So I think at some point we're going to just have to have a whole nother talk so that we can really dive deep
Oh, I
into
appreciate that. Yeah.
all
And
of
just,
those other things that you do.
and just know that, for me, it's the whole person. So if I'm talking to a female entrepreneur or intrapreneur or a man, they're usually connected to something they love, right? Their passion, their purpose. So they have a soul, they have angels, they have deceased loved ones, they have guides. If they have kids, I connect to them too. As a parent myself, I know that my kid comes with me in my head wherever I am. I'm pretty good at separating it when I have to work, but when the call comes in from the school, you know what I mean? I go back into mom mode. And so all these parts are part of the whole system here, Tami. So I know your angels because they're standing beside you. I can read your kids because they're part of you. I can read your employees because they're part of you. So it's anything that's an extension of you that sort of gets read to me and discussed, because if there is a problem in any of these areas, it clouds the emotion, it can block the energy, it can create conflict and anxiety, and we need to provide solutions. So personal life and public life and professional life always do overlap. And I challenge anyone who says they don't. And if they do, they're probably divorced and their kids are on drugs and they're not talking to them. So for a healthy person who has a balance, these do intersect. And so people like me, we don't really separate the arenas. I have a business background. I am a human being. I have children. I advocate for children. I've written children's books. I've studied here in Ottawa, work with the city, help children. So, that's one of my personal passions, is helping the children of the planet in general. But I also need to help their parents, right? So a 7-year-old doesn't have much control, but their parents sure do. So for me, it's about life. It's just life. It's let's improve businesses. Let's get passionate. Let's get personal. Let's get conscious about how we shop, how we vote, how we parent. And I always look at the global context as if I really want an evolved planet. I want to be on a planet where, it's safe, it's free, it's fun, and it's beautiful.
I'm listening to you, and it's just, everything just makes such perfect sense. How can we find out more about you and your services?
Sure, it's easy. My website is jenniferclark.ca. You can, there's a couple interviews there. I think some video there as well. Certainly there's a whole page called services. There's a whole link to all the things I can do for someone. And if you don't know what to do, you just click on personal consultation and we do a one-on-one chat anyway. So it doesn't matter what you click on. I end up just kind of talking to you about what I think needs to happen in a session. Again, clients who aren't in my area, we do it over Skype, easy peasy, PayPal payment, credit card. It's tickety-boo, doesn't take much. The good news is for the American listeners, your dollar is strong. So my services are Canadian dollars. So there is a value benefit there. But yeah, so certainly jenniferclark.ca. I'm also on Facebook and LinkedIn. But my portal, the website would be the easiest way, and happy to help people. There's frequently asked questions on my website with some articles and education, because I always like to leave people with education. I have to help them change themselves. So I not only provide the service, but I also want to provide them, here's a book, here's a resource, check out this author or this program or this school. And because I'm very well read, it does have a global context. A lot of the information does come out of the US, so that's good. It's close to home. So, when I refer you to someone, everyone has a website, everyone has a YouTube channel these days. So it's easy to get free information and education. It doesn't have to cost a lot. It just starts with your intention.
Well, I really appreciate all the time you took today. And again, everyone, it's jenniferclark.ca because she's in Canada. But definitely go to her website because she has a wide range of services and workshops, programs, online programs, and different events. And she's also written many books. So like I said, Jennifer, I'll have to invite you back another time. But for today, thank you so much. And thank you for all of that personal insight. I really do appreciate that.
Well, if you do it, you have to have me as a host.
Just to and this is like, you're getting a little insider information here, folks. I've been thinking about how can I make women innovators and my mission bigger. And what you just said obviously made 100% sense.
Yeah, so take your projects, take all the people that you've studied or people have come to you, Tami, for your like TV training, media training, offer them a spot. Go to all the people that are in your books and your book projects, offer them a spot if they're qualified, if they have a presence, a personality. And let the sort of lead people run with it. And then you're able to support people in the learning curve and use it as a business model. You actually say, okay, for those of you who aren't really are new at this, pay a certain fee. I will coach you how to do this. I'll put you on air. You get to stand beside the people that know what they're doing, that may be having more of a profit sharing business model with you. So you can have a two-tiered approach and it can make you money and it can help people learn and evolve. And really live a passionate life.
Well, I thank you for that. I really do appreciate that. Thanks, Jennifer.
No problem. It's what I do.
This is Tami Patzer. Go make it a beautiful day.
You've been listening to Women Innovators with Tami Patzer. To learn more, please go to womeninnovatorsradio.com. And please do subscribe and share to spread the big messages and big missions to change the world.